Hello, friends. As I move towards the release of Goblin, an adventure graphic novel coming from Will Perkins and myself, I've been doing a lot of interviews. And aside from, the initial questions that you get, like why, who are you, we told you not to call in, why do you keep calling in? I get asked a lot, like what was some of the influences, and there's a good amount of things that are funneled into it. But one of the answers that I give often, and something that absolutely had a huge effect on me as a person and as a creator of things, is these choose your own adventure books that TSR put out that are called the Endless Quest series. There was, there's like 20 something that came out, at least originally. I'm sure they repackaged it and have come out with versions since. But the ones I'm familiar with, which ran from 1982, I believe the first one came out, till probably the 90s. Or so. I'm not going to go past the night. It's not like it's 20 books and it came out in 30 years, 40 years. First book is Dungeon of Dread. This one is written by Rose Estes, who, to my knowledge, from what I've read, created this whole line, this Endless Quest series, because she had seen the Choose Your Own Adventure books. They had been out and they were starting to get some popularity, and approached TSR, who at the time was the company that made Dungeons and Dragons, a role-playing game, and said this is like a perfect way to introduce people to the world of being a character and making choices and having fun and doing all that stuff. And from what I've read, they were like, nah. But then she just kept asking, and finally they said, well, if you're so into it, why don't you do it? And she did, and she made something completely awesome. And they were a hit for them. So good on you. She's also wrote most of, I think, the first dozen or so, and those still stand out as my absolute favorite. If you're seeing her name on it, it's going to be a good thing. So the first one was Dungeon of Dread, which has this awesome looking, I believe it's a water weird that is coming out of the. You're in you're in the Dungeon of Dread. That's what the title is. You're in Applebee's. No, you're in the Dungeon of Dread, and look at this. This water serpent came out, and I really came very close to putting this creature in the Beware the Dark Sisterhood role-playing game that we put together for the realm of Goblin, that you can play with 5e. That is free, by the way, if you wanted to download it. But I ended up not putting it in because of where it took place and the thing, and it felt like, do we need another thing here? But whatever. Long story short is, I kind of wish I did, because this was one of my favorite parts of the book, and I believe there's something to do with a bone or a key is in the thing, and you go to reach for the thing, and you got trouble. But one of the best parts about this book series, and if you're not familiar with even the concept of this, it's a book where you are essentially the character, and you get to a page, and it's like, do you want to walk into the mirror, or do you want to sit and think about why you've done these terrible things, right? Or do you want to get yelled at by your stepfather? For me, this was like the ultimate escape from the horrors of everyday life. But in here, you could be in control, right? But the artwork in this is absolutely wonderful, and I didn't do my homework, and I should be explaining who the artist. I don't think they listed. Yes, so the interior art is Jim Holloway, which is amazing, and Larry Elmore doing the cover, which is absolutely beautiful. The whole thing, the hand and over this is so well put together, and I love it. But yeah, the artwork throughout is amazing. But there's there's just great stuff in here. They're so good. Okay, so that's the first one. I didn't have the second one. I still wish I did. They're kind of expensive on eBay, but one day I will get 2 and 3 because I have 4. And 4, Return to Brookmere. Oh, this was my absolute favorite. I read this one over and over, and you can see the book is worn, stained with time and sadness on this one. But I absolutely loved this book. Once again, no surprise, it's Rose Estes writing it. The cover art, once again, Larry Elmore, and the interior art is by Timothy Truman, and it's absolutely amazing. So you can look at the picture here. This book had scenes that I was always trying to get back to. I wasn't one of those animals that would just get to the part and not like what they did and have to go back. I wasn't doing that. I was living with my choices, which is why they were so hard to make and still are hard to make. So it's like the beginning of a journey of anxiety. But there was these moments that would happen. The Crying Knoll is what I'm thinking of, and I'm trying to find out where it is. Come on, I know you're in here because I used to get to you often. But anyway, well, I'll explain a little bit. There's this part of this when you're going through the kingdom, and from what I remember from the story, is you are an elf. You're an elven fella, and your Brookmere, which is your family's castle, has been overrun by a rat king and all sorts of monsters and goblins and kobolds and whatever, and they've taken it over, and your family is in exile, and you're returning to Brookmere to see what's going on and to get some intelligence. But this scene right here, this crying knoll on top of a treasure, was such a thing that I had never seen before in any of this stuff. I wasn't a Dungeons & Dragons player, so I never played any of the games, but I was obsessed with the TV show and loved fantasy and all of that kind of thing. But I had never seen sort of a monster portrayed, sympathetically. And there's a choice that you can make at this, whether or not you're cruel or you show mercy. That was really, for me as a little kid, was sort of blew my mind a bit. And this scene, there is something similar. There's 100% an homage to this in Goblin that I had put in. The circumstances are a little bit different, but this moment, I've been chasing this moment, like the Horn brothers and that butter and brie baguette that they, that's I've been looking for this. This is one of those brie sandwich things for me. There's also another really cool part, this like little Apocalypse Now situation where you're like wading through the swampy water in this courtyard or whatever, and you can sneak up on a kobold and do some serious damage. It's wonderful. This book is absolutely my favorite. So that's number 4. I don't have 5 through 9. Yes, I do. I have number 6, which was the first book. This one is called Revenge of the Rainbow Dragons. This, Rose Estes again. This was the first one I got. So for a lot of people, they know Choose Your Own Adventures really well. I read those certainly, but I didn't discover those until after these. So this was the first time I ever had a book experience like this, because I was obsessed with games and hiding in books and reading. And so this was a combination of the two, which just completely blew my mind. And I loved this book. It was great. As you can see it's really beat up because this was the very first one I got. And I think it says 6 on here somewhere, because it's 6 in the series, but you don't really know that picking it up. So I didn't even realize. Then I found out there was other ones, and I just went absolutely nuts. So this cover art is Jeff Easley, and interior art is Harry Quinn. And it's all great. It's all great. This was a ton of fun. The next book was Circus. Once again, I think I said it was Rose Estes. This is also Rose Estes. As you can see, she's basically establishing the format and the formula and the feel and the of the books. And, people are going to come and follow that. This one is good. I don't remember as much. There's some great, weird moments. I think you're a brother and sister, and a circus comes to town. It's kind of like a weird vampire. It was not like Vampire Circus. That would be a different kind of book for kids. But it's that kind of feel of like something weird has come to the town. It's very cool. I don't know if I went back to this one as much as some of the others, but it was still and this other little thing I forgot to mention. Each one of these books has like a little, why can't I think of the word? What is a ruby and crystal and whatever that is? I don't know. It's not an emerald. That's a type of these things. A little treasure, a little piece of sunshine that you plucked off of something out of a dragon pile. I don't know. But each one has that. Like, there was these little details that they gave each of the covers that is just so wonderful. And I think that's that kind of stuff that I've just been wanting to get to and get back to. Because isn't that what we all do? I guess for some people, you hit a certain point and you're going to buy a convertible. And for me, it's like looking at books like these and like watching YouTube videos of Starcade. So it's like one of those moments for all of us. And by all of us, I mean me. Here's Raid on Nightmare Castle. This is a fantastic cover. Who doesn't want a castle that looks like a skull? This is the first book. No, see, I'm going out of order, you monsters. We're not going to talk about this one yet, because we're going to talk about Spell on the Winter Wizard. The second book I got. I loved this book as well. This is the first Rose Estes written book. This is Linda Lowery, who was great, because I remember really, really liking this one as well. Although it says this book belongs to my stepsister, which I honestly think I got this book. This is interesting. I'm going to have to ask her what the situation is here, because she also wrote her name twice, so maybe this was her trying to take it. Or it's possible I got Rainbow Dragons, which clearly was mine, and then maybe she got this one, and then I was like, now that one's mine? I don't know. I could have been the monster. No one knows when they're the villain. And sometimes being a villain is simple as just taking someone's Spell of the Winter Wizard and remembering that it was the second book you got. I don't know. But this one is cover art by Elmore, again, so we've seen before. And the interior art is by Jeffrey R. Bush, of the Jeffrey R. Bushers, a famous family. Look at this. This guy's coming out of a tree. It's no surprise I got people going in and out of trees my whole life. It's wonderful stuff. This was a ton of fun. Now, for you Raid on Nightmare Castle fans that have been like, when's he gonna mention he showed it before? Well, here it is, friend. Look at that. Look at this little fella, and ooh, that's interesting. A little fella and a dog. So I wonder where some of my ideas come from. This is Catherine McGuire. So this is again a new author. This one was a lot of fun too. I don't remember as much about this story, and I think as the numbers go up, some of my interests are changing, and I'm getting into other things or comics or whatever, and I'm still loving these books. But this one, once we get to like 14 and the two that are going to follow, they don't quite ever have the same amount of magic that the earlier ones, because of who I was at the time. Absolutely nothing against the authors of these books. But this one was pretty good, and you gotta love the cover. But then something happened by like 21 or 22. They change the art style, right? It becomes a lot slicker. You don't have the cool little elements of the the pieces of treasure that I can't think of what you would call jewels. I couldn't remember jewels. Sorry, Jewel as well. So this goes away. This all goes away, and then it becomes a little bit slicker. I'm apologies to Chris Martindale, but I think I did not really care for this one all that much, or maybe it was just a little too much like a combat heavy thing, and it felt like a lot of the heart of the story maybe went away a little bit. The next one, which has fantastic, I gotta tell you who did the artwork, because the artwork is good. This is Clyde Caldwell, and the interior stuff like this That's Keith Parkinson. Okay, the next one. This is a great cover, and I think I like this story a little bit more. So good on you, Margaret, Baldwin, Weis, who wrote this. Yeah, this one was good too, but again, this was probably towards the end of my. I wasn't as passionately purchasing these or running to Hobby Masters, which is now gone, in our town, and buying these for. This one's $2.25. The other ones were $2, so this one cost you an extra quarter. This is the cover and interior art are Jeff Easley, so he's done both. But that was cool. But anyway, yeah, I guess these are still kind of collectible because I have been looking on eBay, hoping to get to complete the first. I would like to get the first 12, because there was one that Rose Estes wrote called something with a dragon. It was whatever. It was a black dragon, and it looks great. And I got all sorts of problems. I'll sit and read, but I'm reading Walt Simonson. Thor Omnibus is my favorite thing in the world. I know it's written for 10-year-olds in the 80s, but I'm fine. So I will find them, and I will probably read them. So that's it. So I just wanted to highlight some of these books for anyone that maybe is like me and remembers them and doesn't still have their originals and just wants to see it. I'm sure, hopefully I will at some point complete the collection. And hey, if you think that all of this being funneled through this and then through the wonderful hand of a brilliant artist in the way of Will Perkins would make an interesting graphic novel that you might want to own, and you have $15, that you sold your jewels that you got off the cover of your old fantasy book, you can go to realmofgoblin.com and you can check out our book.